Welcome back to Watch the Booker Man and to episode number 33 of Paul Heyman's TNA 2010, and this show, the 7th pay-per-view of the series, is Victory Road 2010. You can see on screen there the match card that we've put together. I think it's another good card, very much piggybacking on the fallout from Slammiversary, but that's to be expected on the show after such a huge event. We are in the Impact Zone for this show. Bound for Glory will be the next pay-per-view that takes place on location, and then after that I will look to be out of the Impact Zone more often than not. But tonight, in the Impact Zone, for Victory Road 2010, let's get into the show. And we begin with a video package which largely focuses on Jeff Hardy's road to victory and his performance in that tournament. Jeff Hardy defeated Chris Sabin in round 1 and then Abyss by countout in the final 4. This resulted in him meeting Robert Roode in the final just 3 nights ago, and he became the #1 contender in a 20-minute match. Jeff's night was not over there, however, as he was attacked backstage by Abyss in a repeat assault of what had happened after the semi-final clash between the two. While the issues between them two are still far from over, a less than 100% Jeff Hardy will have to focus on Kurt Angle tonight as he challenges him for the World Heavyweight Championship. So the Road to Victory Road storyline continues there, which I didn't actually want it to. I meant to take Abyss out of that storyline. This video package was rated on Jeff Hardy, Abyss and Robert Roode, I think, because I didn't want it to advance the storyline by having Kurt Angle involved. But because Abyss is still in that storyline, I suppose he is still involved between these two, so it's fair enough, but it does probably lose a little bit of heat to the main event, so a little bit disappointing. But we go into then the first match of the night, the X Division Championship match, which is Jay Lethal versus Roderick Strong. The build to this has very much been centred around Roderick Strong having a little bit of a downturn in fortunes, perhaps looking to the New Age, and there is some involvement from the New Age. Mick Foley and Jimmy Jacobs coming out. Maria goes to confront them, but really they're going to quite easily get past her. Austin Creed comes out, however, and ensures that they can't get involved. Roderick Strong makes no indication that he wants any help from the New Age, but they still try and get involved, and obviously they think that if they can help him to the X Division Championship, then he'll be on their side. It pretty much backfires because Jay Lethal picks up the victory in 13 minutes and 13, and Roderick Strong, who just wants to get his head down and focus on wrestling, is still having people on the outside cost him. It's not an interference match, it's a clean finish, but just the fact that there's the whole pantomime around the match will play into his storyline going forward. 249 performances and they don't click, which is disappointing. Advancing 2 storylines, but not particularly well, with a 52, a disappointing opener, and I'm not sure if I should have already known that those two have bad chemistry. I'm not sure if they've had a singles match before, but nonetheless, something to note because not really good. Jay Lethal is then joined by his girlfriend Maria Kanellis after the win, as he is handed both of his championships by the referee. Roderick Strong rolls to the outside and gets back to his feet. He's staying at ringside for a moment, ruminating on his next move. He's clearly not happy about how this has gone down. Despite showing no inclination towards the New Age during the match, the commentators speculate that this latest defeat may have changed his mind, may swing him more towards that camp. It's not working what he's doing now. Nonetheless, he eventually leaves without further incident as Jay Lethal continues to celebrate in the ring. So a small tease there that Roderick Strong was maybe going to attack Jay Lethal after the match, but he decided not to in the end, and it's just a celebration post-match. Before the second match of the night, the commentators introduce a look back at the genesis of the rivalry between Sara Del Rey and Sarita at Slammiversary, with Sara Del Rey inches away from victory in the first ever Queen of the Mountain match. She was just a couple of steps away from becoming the Knockouts champion when Sarita joined her on the ladder, hitting a huge cutter which took both women out of contention. Madison Rayne, of course, went on to win the championship. She'll defend against Tara later tonight. But since that night, Sara Del Rey has had her eye on Sarita. Through the month, she's got into it with Taylor Wilde, but Sarita returned, and these two will go one-on-one in Sara Del Rey's pay-per-view singles debut. And it's a better match than the opener, a decent match overall, I'd say, and we just sent them out to have almost 12 minutes of back-and-forth action. Just go out. I'm not sure what the actual road agent note was, so I didn't have them go all out, but it was storytelling. We wanted them to show that they're very evenly matched competitors, but Del Rey just had too much for Sarita, making her tap out with that cross arm breaker that she is becoming synonymous with, continuing and gaining heat to the storyline that involves these two, and a good showing from both women, I would say, very much on their way to being two of the top names in the Knockouts singles division. Sara Del Rey then stands tall following the match, continuing her successful run since joining Impact. That Queen of the Mountain match, the only match that she hasn't won since joining the company. It is suggested now that Sara Del Rey will certainly have her eye on Madison Rayne's title defence later in the evening. Whether it's Tara or Madison Rayne leaving as champion, Sara Del Rey certainly sees herself, at least, in contention. Speaking of that Knockouts Championship defence later in the evening, Madison Rayne is interviewed about her upcoming match with Tara. The Queen of the Mountain is supremely confident going into this Tara's rematch, and she says that she is looking forward to cementing her place at the top of the ladder. She says that the wily old veteran might think that she has every trick up her sleeve, but the champion promises that Tara is not ready for what she has planned tonight. So a decent promo from Madison Rayne there, a 59 rated. Very happy with that. Her in-ring isn't quite as good as some of the other women in the company, but she's definitely an entertaining figure, and I'm enjoying her character as one of the top names in the division. We then get the third match of the night, and it is Brian Kendrick versus Paul London. These two are a tag team, of course, but after winning the Battle Royal at Slammiversary, they had the choice of either taking a tag team title shot or facing each other, and the winner would face the World Heavyweight Champions. So either Kurt Angle or Jeff Hardy will have to defend against the winner of this match, and despite Paul London being the one who won the match at Slammiversary to earn them this shot, Brian Kendrick defeats him in 14 minutes and 18. That match ends the first hour, a sliced bread number 2. Actually, Paul London had the better in-ring performance. For some reason in my mind, I know somebody actually said in a comment that they saw Brian Kendrick as more of the impressive, well-rounded singles competitor. I was a big fan of Paul London in 2010, but I kind of go along with that. Brian Kendrick had a bit more of a singles run in WWE as the Brian Kendrick. He even held the WWE title, albeit in that championship scramble match as an interim title holder. It was a high spots match, so that probably played a little bit more into the favour of Paul London. While Brian Kendrick is a great all-round wrestler, London probably is the more flashy of the two. Nonetheless, Brian Kendrick is the number 1 contender to the World Heavyweight Champion, but there's no shenanigans, no problems, a fair fight, and Brian Kendrick on the night was the better man. But I'm actually very happy with the performance of Paul London there, as 66 is really good. Brian Kendrick then has his arm raised in the ring, but he keeps his pre-match promise and helps his partner back to his feet. There was never going to be any hard feelings between these two. They made that very, very clear. Things had been highly competitive during the match, even getting a little bit heated at times, but London and Kendrick leave together, their friendship and partnership wholly intact. As a result of his victory, as I've already said, Brian Kendrick is now the number 1 contender, meaning that he is next in line, ready to face whoever wins the main event of Victory Road. Kurt Angle is then interviewed. Again, we're trying to follow up segments. With segments, we had Sara Del Rey interested in the Knockouts Championship, leading into a Madison Rayne promo. Now we have a number 1 contender. We go straight into a Kurt Angle promo, trying to keep a little bit of momentum on the show, keep things moving forward. And the World Heavyweight Champion is first asked about Brian Kendrick. He says that he can't talk about Kendrick until after Victory Road because he has to focus on walking out as champion tonight. He can't look past Jeff Hardy. The champion is willing to address Abyss, however, sending a clear message to the monster. He tells Abyss to keep out of his business tonight, saying that he doesn't give a damn if there's issues with Jeff Hardy, but he needs to save it for Thursday night on Impact if he doesn't want to have problems with Kurt Angle. So again, advancing the storyline with a decent promo from Kurt Angle, in fact advancing 2 storylines, doing a masterful job of improvising, but it is only a 70 rating. He's more talking to Abyss than Jeff Hardy really, but again, I've not taken Abyss out of the storyline, so that good work that we did on Impact with that 90 plus rated segment and then the 85 rated segment kind of hurt a little bit by having 2 segments that don't quite live up to those standards. We go into the tables match for the Knockouts Tag Team Championships. The New Age go in as champions, facing Kong and Hamada, who lost the titles at Slammiversary. It says elimination on my screen now, but I don't like the idea of that. I think it should be first through a table is the one who loses. As we saw on Impact, Jimmy Jacobs was put through a table by Awesome Kong. I think this match stipulation, as well as playing into the part of the storyline, was a way where we could have Kong and Hamada lose without them being pinned or submitted. So Awesome Kong is sort of taken out of contention, probably a double powerbomb on the outside, but not through a table. I don't know if that works because ideally you'd just set up a table, but they take her out of the way, leaving Hamada on her own. The New Age then hit a heart attack through a table that wins them the match. They're still the champions. Another decent match, certainly better than our opener. Mischief doing okay. Hamada not so good. She is somewhat below the standards and the levels that we want. I think it is just based on popularity. Awesome Kong and Flash doing pretty well, and we have the New Age now able to move on to another storyline, while Kong and Hamada, like happened with Sarita and Taylor Wilde, I think are now better served fleshing out that singles division. We can then focus on other teams in the tag team division, given that it's basically since the start of January when Kong and Hamada won the titles, we focused mainly on them. Alyssa Flash and Mischief are then joined by Jimmy Jacobs and Mick Foley, who of course, with there being no DQs, got involved where they could during the match. We didn't want anything too physical. We don't want Mick Foley punching Hamada in the face or anything like that, but distractions and just generally making life hard for Kong and Hamada, moving tables, that kind of thing. All 4 members of the New Age stand tall, Jimmy Jacobs standing between Flash and Mischief, while Mick gives a toothy thumbs up from behind them. With Awesome Kong and Hamada's rematch out of the way, they will now be looking to new challengers for the Knockouts tag team titles. A video package then airs before the final showdown between Desmond Wolfe and Samoa Joe. A recap of their physical rivalry and their various encounters over the last few months. We get talking heads including Paul Heyman, Taz and the Motor City Machine Guns, who aren't on tonight's show, who put over the history between the two men. It predates their time in TNA, and Shelley and Sabin give a little bit of insight into that. At Slammiversary, Desmond Wolfe went low to defeat Samoa Joe, hitting him with a low blow, only to be pinned, with Joe using the same tactic the following Thursday on Impact in a 6-man tag. This rivalry has proved one thing so far, and it is that these two men are extremely evenly matched, both in the ring and out of it, something neither man will be happy to hear. Very much putting over as well that their personalities are quite similar in terms of wanting to be the alpha male in the locker room. Tonight, however, only one man will stand tall, having won this deeply personal rivalry. There's only 3 ways to win this match: pass out, knock out, or tap out. And we go into a good match, not as good as their Slammiversary match, probably the higher stakes of Slammiversary give it a little bit of a boost, but it is 2 good performances. Desmond Wolfe with an 81, Samoa Joe with an 80, and they were sent out 22 minutes and 50 seconds. We did deserve better announcing, unfortunately, but the chemistry lifted the match and got the crowd buzzing, gaining heat to the storyline, which is over. I probably should have ended the storyline with this match. Does that give it a boost as well? Maybe not, but it says an exceptional match, and I'd go along with that. 22.5 minutes, like I said, but Samoa Joe picks up the victory. There's not too many details I can go into other than we sent them out to be as physical and as hard hitting as possible. Times where it looked like Desmond Wolfe was going to make Joe tap out with that London Dungeon submission that he does, but in the end, a Kakina clutch. Wolfe doesn't tap out, but he does pass out, and the referee makes the call. Technically a stoppage, I've put it as. I think I could have gone either way with it, but Wolfe went to sleep, and Samoa Joe stands tall in the ring, his expression showing that he is still very much in the zone. There's no relief, there is no decrease in his intensity. The Samoan submission machine remains focused, having choked out Desmond Wolfe. Mauro and Taz put over the epic encounter worthy of ending this personal rivalry. Didn't quite live up to that in terms of the rating. I was hoping this could get maybe an 85 even, a little bit ambitious. But the suggestion is that Samoa Joe must now have his sights set on becoming the World Heavyweight Champion, just as Wolfe had after defeating him at Slammiversary. Joe's now the one who looks closer to being the next in line after Brian Kendrick to face either Jeff Hardy or Kurt Angle. We then go into what is, I suppose, Tara's response promo to Madison Rayne. It says Jeremy Borash there, it's SoCal Val on screen. Not that it particularly matters, but ahead of her rematch with the Knockouts champion, Tara tells the interviewer that she has heard everything Madison Rayne has had to say in the build-up, but she is ready. She adds that she wasn't pinned or made to submit to lose the title, and one-on-one, she knows, the world knows, that she is better than Madison Rayne. Tara's been very, very focused, very determined to get the title back since that pay-per-view. Every appearance that she's had, it's been made very, very clear. There is nothing else on her mind. The whole world will see that tonight when she knocks the Queen of the Mountain off her perch and takes back her place as the leader of the Knockouts division. So as confident as Madison Rayne was earlier tonight, Tara is just as confident and improvises well in what is a solid promo from her as we lead into the 6th match of the night, a match that had great heat and good wrestling. So we've done a good job of building up the crowd throughout the night, and Anderson again underestimating his opponents. This arrogance and cockiness is a key feature of his character, and he does require the assistance of Sean Bashir and Big Rob Terry. However, when they try and get involved, Eric Young hits a double Death Valley driver to Sean and Terry. I'm pretty sure I saw him do it to Robbie E and Robbie T when they were a tag team in TNA. I might be wrong here. It sounds like something that's kind of unrealistic, Eric Young picking up Big Rob Terry and Sean Bashir, but it was one of his big spots that he could lift two people up and hit them with a Death Valley driver. So the idea here is that Eric Young sends Mr. Anderson to the outside, hits that big move when Terry and Bashir try and get involved, hopefully getting a pop, certainly making him look good. He's only just returned, and while he does lose when Anderson comes back and hits him with a mic check, still, in my mind at least, Eric Young comes across better than he'd previously been booked anyway. I don't even want to show you Eric Young's record for the start of 2010 because I've booked him absolutely terribly. Eric Young is defeated. A 63 from him is a good performance, and it does show that there is potential there for us to build him up into a upper mid-card act, or maybe even beyond in the years to come. He became a world champion in reality. Anderson with a 67 isn't great. Probably need to change his direction a little bit. He struggled with Shark Boy, struggled with Eric Young. He got defeated by D'Angelo Dinero at Slammiversary. Probably need to just turn things up with Mr. Anderson a little bit. He could have been one of the top names. He's become, I'd argue, a mid-carder so far. But again, plenty of potential, a long time left on his contract, and I'm not going to again do the Eric Young turn just yet. Anderson stands tall following his victory, having somewhat been assisted, as I said, by Big Rob Terry and Sean Bashir, their failure causing the distraction that would then let him pick up the win. They're both down on the outside, but have done their duty. Anderson could once again be accused of underestimating his opponent, but nonetheless comes out victorious. And from the way he acts after the match, you A, wouldn't think he'd had any trouble at all, and B, wouldn't realise that he needed two guys to assist him. Jeff Hardy is then interviewed in the back. We're doing this for both top titles, the champion and challenger speak, before his World Heavyweight Championship match with Kurt Angle. While he does begin to speak about the main event, the interview is quickly blown off course as Abyss arrives on the scene. Lauren Brooke is right out of there, as she should be, and a fired up Jeff Hardy. Given the recent events, he's of course going to be ready to fight Abyss, and he says bring it on. He doesn't care that he's got a fight tonight. He'll take out Abyss so that he can't then get involved later. There's clearly an internal conflict for Jeff Hardy, however. He's not going forward. He's not willing to back down from a fight. If Abyss comes at him, he will fight him, but he's not going to start the fight. Of course, he understands that that probably wouldn't end well for him with a World Heavyweight Championship match just around the corner. Before Abyss can lay his hands on Jeff Hardy, however, Paul Heyman and a group of backstage workers come between them. Heyman warns Abyss to leave the area, leave the arena in fact, and tells Jeff to go the other way. Jeff does that. Abyss considers trying to take the dozen or so men out, but does instead walk out, perhaps realising there'll be a more opportune moment to make his impact. So a little hint there that Abyss is still around, albeit Paul Heyman telling him to leave the building. A really good segment there though, I didn't realise that until just now. Jeff Hardy's entertainment, Abyss's menace and Paul Heyman's entertainment as well, I think, proving to be a good mix for that segment, and gaining heat to the storyline, which is something I have, I'd say, never done in the build up to a pay-per-view. Always on the pay-per-view I seem to be losing heat to storylines, so that could be huge, and I've got high hopes for this main event. That could be a key factor in this match delivering, and that's a really good match for the semi-main event actually. The Knockouts Championship, Madison Rayne defends against Tara. It's a 10-minute match, but this one does have some involvement. It's been a little bit distraction heavy maybe this pay-per-view, a lot of shenanigans going on. I've only sort of realised that in retrospect. I'd say maybe 2 or 3 matches only, and potentially the main event, are the ones that have had no outside involvement, but this one's maybe a surprise. Tara sets up for a Widow's Peak. Madison Rayne then drops to one knee and feigns a serious injury, which gets the referee Earl Hebner. Of course, he's a man who's always been easily distracted by the knockouts. While Earl Hebner is trying to help the Knockouts champion, who rolls to the outside, Tara is attacked from behind by the debuting Jazz. So somebody we've never seen in TNA, a former ECW and WWE alumni, but she is going after Tara. She hits her with her DDT. I can't remember the name of her finisher just now, but it's a vicious looking DDT that drops Tara. Madison Rayne then returns to the ring and pins her. Says they're a running big boot, but she's actually just taking advantage of the big move from Jazz, who gets a great rating for her badass gimmick. Really good debut for Jazz there, who seemingly is associated with Madison Rayne, or is she just coming after Tara? We'll find out that, of course, on the weeks and months to follow. Madison Rayne celebrates in the ring. The major talking point, however, the appearance of Jazz. While the Knockouts champion receives her title, the commentator's focus is on why Jazz made an appearance, if it had anything to do with the Queen of the Mountain, as she hired her to serve as her protection. She was trying to get Hamada and Awesome Kong to do that job the other week, so she's definitely been on the lookout for somebody. But is Jazz that woman, or is Jazz just here on some personal vendetta against Tara? Again, like I said, we will find out as things go on. A short video package then promotes this Thursday's Impact. I know it seems a little bit backwards promoting a free TV show on a pay-per-view. Normally it should be the other way around, but just for this once, as well as featuring all the fallout from the pay-per-view, we have a huge main event with massive implications, and I really want to hammer that home. Hernandez going one-on-one with Matt Morgan, and if Morgan wins, Hernandez is gone from TNA. Again, there's an argument that this match should have been on the pay-per-view. I agree with it, if not for knowing the booking. I want this moment to be seen by as many people as possible, and of course, in terms of in-game, a very, very small percentage of our viewership watches pay-per-views, and I think this, as a moment, is best served on Impact, whether it's Hernandez's final moment in TNA, and that's why we wanted to give him a big televised send-off, or something else. We'll find out. Mauro and Taz also promote the first encounter between the number one contender Brian Kendrick and the winner of tonight's main event, be it Kurt Angle or Jeff Hardy. The two men will come face to face, perhaps setting a date for the future World Heavyweight Championship match. Before then, we have tonight's main event, Jeff Hardy v Kurt Angle. This time we look at Kurt Angle's year so far and his dominant run since becoming the World Heavyweight Champion. Taking AJ Styles out of action at Lockdown and winning the title in the process, Kurt Angle has gone on to defeat D'Angelo De Niro, Mr. Anderson and perhaps most notably Bobby Lashley since then. Tonight he comes into the main event as the favourite, the fresher and more prepared of the two competitors. This year has shown that despite being 40 years old and perhaps not fitting in with the new vision of TNA, there is no doubt that Kurt Angle is still the best wrestler on the planet, and with the odds stacked against him, Jeff Hardy will look to his resilience and willing to fight through the pain as he looks to overcome the World Heavyweight Champion. And the main event match is an exceptional match, gets an 82 rating, a 92 from Kurt Angle, did deserve better announcing, good chemistry from the two, a 77 from Jeff Hardy, 82 overall is a little bit disappointing, would have hoped possibly for better. Let's see on the dirt sheet actually if there was any negatives that I can take note of for next time or if they face off again. Yeah, so just the announcing, Jeff Hardy, stamina, inconsistency, both men holding back, probably because of the booking, which was just storytelling, as well as an all-out match, just under 20 minutes. And a big portion of the match is Kurt Angle showing his ruthlessness again. He is a face, but he's definitely got that side where he's willing to go after his opponent's weaknesses to ensure victory. The World Heavyweight Championship, of course, the most important thing to him. Jeff Hardy's bad back is the focus of much of Kurt Angle's offense, and this gets more heated. Jeff Hardy trying to fire himself up to fight through the pain. Things getting very, very tense between the two men. It goes to the outside. Kurt throws Jeff Hardy back first into the steel steps, but Jeff is able to turn the tables. The steps now loose. He goes for the same move that was successful against Abyss. He doesn't want the count out win, so he goes back into the ring to break the count before going to the top rope and going for that swanton bomb onto the steel steps. That momentary delay is enough for Kurt Angle to roll off the steps, Jeff Hardy instead crashing and burning, hitting his already injured back into the steel steps. Kurt Angle could get the count out quite easily probably, but instead rolls Jeff Hardy back into the ring, hits him with an angle slam for the 1-2-3. Kurt Angle picks up the victory, retaining his title. It does look a little bit heelish from Kurt Angle again, but it's more about building sympathy on Jeff Hardy. He's been through a lot throughout the last month, and now we can see that he's moving into a storyline with Abyss, who didn't get involved. No real explanation for why he's not there, but a clean finish to the main event after a pay-per-view that's been full of interference and distractions. Kurt Angle, still the World Heavyweight Champion, standing tall to end the pay-per-view. Brian Kendrick next in line for a title shot, but the commentators put over that the likes of Samoa Joe and maybe some other people have their sights set on the champion as well, so no rest for the top dog in TNA. But for tonight at least, Kurt Angle can enjoy his victory, a decisive win over Jeff Hardy. Mauro and Taz signing off on the pay-per-view, putting over the World Heavyweight Champion, the undisputed best wrestler on the planet. A really good segment to end the show as well, 85 rating. Kurt Angle coming across well, and it's an 81 overall. So I think that is our second best show, maybe third. Increasing our popularity in 7 regions. A restricted number of viewers in the American region, so I suppose that's because we've only got small pay-per-view carriers or something. I don't really know, still don't know how that works, but I know Kurt Angle put in a good performance. We'll praise him for a great performance actually. Samoa Joe did well. I think both Joe and Desmond Wolfe did well. So we'll praise all three of them for a great performance. Very happy, pleased and pleased. The feedback on the show has been excellent. It seems that TNA really struck gold with the show, and we'll see where it comes in terms of top 100. So it is our second best show so far, better than any episode of Impact, just below Slammiversary, which I'm more than happy with. The match between the two of them, also our second best match yet. So again, it's been a really successful show. I didn't realise, it seemed fairly average going throughout it, but our second worst buy rate, which is, I think the first one was before a patch that changed how buy rates work. So really our worst pay-per-view yet in terms of the buy rate, when considering it was Jeff Hardy v Kurt Angle. I thought both of them would draw. Maybe not enough time to build the heat for that, but Hardcore Justice is our next pay-per-view. Hardcore Justice? I don't know why it's set as that. It should just be Hard Justice. I'll change that. But our next pay-per-view is Hard Justice 2010, and Impact follows. We've got Brian Kendrick, as I mentioned, will go face-to-face with Kurt Angle, and there is the huge match between Matt Morgan and Hernandez that has been built up for weeks, probably months now. If Hernandez loses, he will leave TNA, and I'm sure that will be a huge, impactful main event for the upcoming show. Thanks for watching. Victory Road 2010 in the bag, and we continue now the build towards the biggest show of the year, just a couple of months away now, Bound for Glory 10-10-10.